Maybe not for this year. Maybe a lot of players playing to want to be there for 2025 and beyond. But the Wests Tigers, I'd say let's start from fullback this time and work our way up to hooker. And Dream Buller, the young gun, obviously I think majority of super coaches had him at some stage last year and rode that train of basically just going ahead and straight to the bank with it.
Yeah, it's
Some
huge.
people actually kept him and stayed with him throughout the rest of the year. And he didn't do too badly. Like he ended up with playing 18 games, averaging 57 last year. And he's priced at 583K. So quite a way down on a lot of those premium people that we have spoken about. And if you can afford it, you obviously go for. There's not many worlds that I can see people wanting to go out and start Buller from round one.
No, he's priced up too high. He's lost his appeal, unfortunately. You've only got two spots to put a fullback in,
Yeah.
and you're not going to put Jareem Buller in there anymore. But yeah, he was one of those guys that last year you jumped onto immediately, and you rode him all the way up to about 700K, and then you sold. And then the dip happened. And if you didn't sell, the writing was on the wall with that one. He'd maxed out, and what a gift to the wallet last year that was for everyone, really. But well, for everyone who really got onto him that early, but you still had 2-3 weeks to still jump onto him when he come through. You could see exactly what was going on. But again, he is priced up at that point now. I think there are better options at 580, maybe not better options at 580 specifically, but I think if you've got 580, you can go down to Jaden Campbell, who has more upside potentially in a bit of a better team, and he's 100K less. That's an easy pick. You can go up a smidge more and get into the PAP territories too. So it was fantastic last year. He was a treasure. I just don't think anyone's going to have him this year in not a very great team. So bit of a shame. If he was lower, you know what? If he can dip hard again, you ride the market straight back up. So have to
back
just
to the
see
bank.
what happens there. Back to the
bank.
Yeah.
If only this is real money we were talking about. Sometimes I just how good would it be?
Oh, it's so
Center
easy.
wing. To be honest,
Is
no,
there
I
anyone that
don't
stands
really
out,
want to
mate?
talk. Not
It's
really at all. I'm
oh,
happy to not really talk. There's one
there's
player that
one
actually does a
player.
little bit.
Who
Is a
is it?
cheapy option potentially. Solomon Malo, the New Zealand rugby
Oh yeah.
convert. I'm actually hearing a little bit of whispers, especially what happens with this Nofaluma situation, which I'm hearing more and more. Tigers want to basically push him out the door. Um, if that does happen, I think he becomes a sneaky option to start. And I'm hearing a
Hmm.
lot of good things about him. He personally, I haven't watched any of his highlights yet. I am going to get around to it to know what all the talk. I'm just going off what I've heard from people, but apparently there is some options there for him to be a player, but that's all that gets me excited. I don't know who you're talking about, but nothing else gets me.
I was talking about Alexander Lobb. Um, this is like the Cup
Talking
Player
about
of the
Lobby.
Year last year. You know what I mean? Like from
Oh yeah.
the Dragons. So like you've got a bit of talent there going on, and I don't know what their plans
Yeah.
are. You look at their whole list of them, and you think, Jesus, this team is destined for a spoon again. Really, unfortunately, there's just nothing in there, and I don't know. I don't see how it gets any good, to be fair. But that's where you go. You know what? What do you got to lose? You
A
got these
lot.
players. Just you got a lot to lose. Well, they're not going to get relegated, so
A
that's
lot.
one thing they don't have to worry about.
Yeah. Oh, I
If
mean,
they
I thought you meant as a super coach. I was like, no,
Oh,
you
as
have
a
like a
super
lot of
coacher, no,
points
I'm
to
talking about the
lose.
Tigers. No, as a
Yeah,
super
yeah.
coacher, you have a lot to lose. Don't do it to yourself. It's not worth it. But as a team, like fair enough, they've gone through this massive change. Like you just keep changing things, keep just throwing new people in there and just see what sticks. And I think, we might see a bit of that. It might be worth it because they are all really cheap. Probably for a good reason. They're probably not going to do a great deal for you. You'd probably get some funny looks if you were saying, "Oh, I'm going to grab that bloke from the Tigers this
Yeah.
week. He looks like a great pick. He's going to, make that bucket load of cash for me." You'd be like, "You're out of your mind." You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's your first day. Probably
The
not.
only player that is at the Tigers now, obviously Justin Olam, which isn't in this list, so we would
Mm,
have to go to the Melbourne Storm to check that. But
yeah,
again, in the Tigers lineup, I need to at least see what they're going to do for the first 8 weeks or 10 weeks to know that it's going to be consistent. And then maybe look at that. But I'm not looking at any backline Tigers players. I can't do it to myself.
no,
Quickly, the halves. We can just talk about the 5'8" because the two halfbacks on the list are both dual with the 5'8" position. So you've
mm,
got Jaden Sullivan was the big name half signing until now. They've got a guy called Luai. Dewey, do not even worry about him. He still won't be back for at least halfway through the year, from what I'm hearing. Latu Fainu, priced at 204.
mm.
This young gun that they've signed that now they've all of a sudden got 6 halves. So I don't know what the plan is with him. Lockie Galvin is a freak. Is I don't know. Like I understand Fainu is very, very good for his age. I've heard Galvin is just as good, and they've already had him in the system now for years. So I don't know what the hell is going on at the time. Now, obviously, there was a
Yeah,
lot going on last year. They've cleaned a lot of the shit up and got rid of a lot of people. There's some good young players in this lineup, which we just talked about with the back line as well. They're not super coach relevant. They're not super coach relevant at all.
not yet.
Maybe Galvin at the back end of the year, if they go, you know what, let's just build up for next year, for 2025. Caesar's gone. Maybe Sullivan, who knows what happens with him? If he's on the money that we've heard about, 550, 600 or whatever, I'd be trying to get him out the door. You can't keep him for that when you've got Luai.
Mm.
Maybe Galvin becomes an option down the track. Who knows? From what I've heard, he has the goods. So it would not surprise me. They need to keep him. There's already clubs knocking at the door saying what's going on with him. So they need to make sure they. And when Dewey does come back, he'll be a center. I don't think he'll be in the halves at all.
That's a fair point with Dewey. I reckon he could do a pretty good job in the centres.
Thank you.
Wait, yeah, I don't see why he couldn't. Obviously he's been popped around everywhere. I
I think he'll
think
be
he
a
just
center.
needs to. I think he just needs to get playing some footy again. I think it's been so long for him. Because he
And the
has
thing was,
those
I feel
moments
for him.
too. Like,
He
yeah,
was
you
heart and
see
soul.
him
He
when
was
he's,
crying in the sheds after losses and stuff. Like I feel
yeah,
like
he
I was
wears it,
saying like he
man.
should have been the captain.
Especially with that team too. And there would have been a lot of those losses, and you're not getting a lot of effort from these players because they just go out there and get battered, and it's defeating. You think you're going to do this every single week, like you're just collecting a paycheck. But then you got players like that, and you can tell that they want to win a game. I remember Hastings doing the same thing when he was there. Going out there and pumping everyone up. So like it's good to have them plays around. Um, I started last year with him as my 5'8", and I was like, I'm happy with that. Really good, and he did some really good things, and then he got injured, which seems to be his story, which is a bit of a shame. So I hope he comes back, and I hope he does something good. Because I remember seeing him at the Rabbits, going, "Oh, this guy's all right. Kicks like pretty much nails everything. Good little pickup for the Tigers." And then yeah, the rest is history. But you're right about how many halves they've got. It seems unusual
It's
that they keep
ridiculous.
signing these halves if they've had these players there ready to go and they're just not giving them a run. But yeah, the team's obviously had a massive clear out, or the club itself,
Yeah.
sorry, and obviously for the better if that's what they've been doing. So you might start to see a bit of a tide turn, see these guys get a run. Whatever
See,
happens to Dewey,
let's talk about
don't know.
the one player that's probably relevant. I think will feature in a few Supercoach teams, especially early on, is Aiden Caesar.
Mm,
Priced at 345K. Obviously didn't play last year, so we have none of the 2023 averages to look at. For 50K less, you can get Sullivan. I think Caesar will have the goal kicking, especially while Dewey's out. So that could be a reason why you might go in for that cheap option if you can't afford anyone else and you've had prices, you've put money elsewhere. Um, the more I think about him, though, I've currently got him, the more I'm trying to get away from him. First
mm,
of all, obviously, Tigers had that bye round one, which is
yeah,
painful. I don't really want to have any Tigers players to start with because of that reason. Um, and yeah, like in theory, you go, yeah, goal kicking, awesome. Realistically, how many tries will the Tigers score?
not
Like,
many. I made the
okay, he's
exact
going to
same
goal kick.
comment too. The one
He's
or
going to
two they
goal
get,
kick, but what?
it's 2
What?
points. It's
He's going to get,
fantastic.
goodness me.
Yeah.
So I'm just that's why again, that's the other reason I'm leaning towards just going the two guns and just working out what else to do with my team later.
Yeah, I can understand that. Obviously, like Caesar's cheap and he's dual position 5'8". There's not many of them. That is where his upside. That's where that's where you'd so go. Oh, all right, cool. I'm just gonna have to plug him. You don't want to. I don't think anyone picks him out
He's
of
also
choice.
old.
Yeah,
He's old now.
there's
He's
not a lot there,
fragile.
and you look at like the Raiders stuff, and you think, okay, it wasn't that great either. But because of where his price point is, I just don't see him losing anything. If you didn't have
Yeah.
anyone better to play, you have to play him there. If you're playing him at 5'8", you're probably going to get away with Kyo Weeks as a better pick for the same because he's a bit less and he's not going to average 20. He's still going to do a little bit more than that. So that potential cashy might be still there. But again, Caesar has more opportunity to score those points. He's not in a great team to kick those goals, but um, it's just that position where you're like, it's not exciting. I don't have any cash left. Um, the, it could be down to what you get out of the involvement, the kicking, the fact that he's a starting half at 345. So there's not many others around there, and that's the only reason. I don't know if I'd pay 50K more to get Sullivan though.
No,
Do you think?
neither.
Yeah, it's not a team that you want to be putting that coin into, specifically with a round one bye. But I think the Caesar play is not a bad one for the round one because the chances are you're going to have Cleary or Hines as your half,
Yeah.
and it's not going to be the matter anyway. So it's not a player and if you have to plug someone, yes, you can. But that's kind of it, really. There's a better pick than I'd like to see it for the 300s, but mainly in half. I think he's better as a half plug than he is a 5'8" plug. I think you've got better options at 5'8" in the cheapy range because of all those Raiders 5'8s that you can put in there. I think if you needed to play a cheap half and you were going to do that really expensive one and a cheap other, I think he's good there. Mainly because there are cheaper 5'8s that you can get than Caesar that are probably going to do what he can do. So yeah, I'd be putting him at half if I had to, and I have got him at half at the moment. But again, yeah, I'm trying to find every way to get out of it. Still haven't found
Yeah,
one.
I am in the same boat. Second row forwards, there's a player who I know has been on your hit list.
Mm-hmm.
The viewers are really interested to hear if he is still in your hit list. I know you when you did your team reveal, you ended up moving away from him. That's Isaiah Papali'i.
Yes,
I still
I
can't see it. I just
you can't
wonder
see it.
what you can see.
Yeah,
I still can't.
I
It's the
am
Tigers.
running
I don't
on.
want to be too negative on the Tigers because to be honest with everyone out there, I'm actually really excited about watching what happens with the Tigers this year, and I think they will improve. I don't know if it will be early on. I think there's got to be a bit of time when Benji puts his full footprint in this Tigers team. I know last year there was talk that he was doing most of the stuff, changes in the back seat, but he still wasn't the coach doing everything, overlooking everything. This year he is, and he's got
Yeah,
the boardroom fallout, which is now dealt with. I'm really excited about what the Tigers have to come in the future. I think there's a lot of really good kids coming through, but I just when we're talking super coach like we are in this episode, I just can't go near any Tigers players.
no, it's a fair point. Um, they're the Spooners, man. You're not going to get massive points out of the team that's
No.
getting smacked, so you just avoid them. I really like Isaiah Papali'i as a player. I think he has obviously played his absolute god tier footy at the Eels. Went into last season priced out of his Eels form. Obviously, just didn't replicate it in a bad team. It's going to happen. I hope he gets better than that. Like when he was at the Eels, he averaged almost 80 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Now he's gone to the Tigers. He's gone back to what he was doing at the Warriors. So whether or not the Eels was the outlier for him and that made him a really good player, and now he's just gone back to what he was doing, or if he's just a great player and the team around him is shit and it's not going to happen for him there. Either way, he has the potential to go massive. You're getting you could be, if you're banking off losing a player in round one that you're putting 560K into. A guy that was priced at 830K the previous year to start with. So it's huge, man. Like his upside is out of control, but he doesn't have the team to factor it in. Like he's playing next to Dylan Brown for those 2 years. It's like, of course he's going to get a great ball. Like he's going to go over. But it's not to say like the second row pairing for the Tigers is probably one of the strongest pairings you're going to find in the comp, which baffles me sometimes. And you think how bad they are. Like for what they can do in a good team.
Yeah.
When Bateman was at the Raiders, world beater, insane. Like this guy was nuts, come out of nowhere and just cleaned everyone up. Really, really good, even for fantasy too. Fantastic. And I think he was dual center when he come through as well. But then you got Papali'i as well on the other side. You're thinking, Jesus Christ, this team has so much potential to just be good, and they're not. What are you doing? Whether a lot that was the coaching, they've got the back line is just not there, and whatever it is, man, they've got some good players there that could go up. I had Bateman for a long time last year. I didn't have Papali'i. And I looked at the two of them and I was going to get one. I don't know what the reason was at the time. I think the price down, they dropped a lot. And I think that's kind of what you can look forward to with a team like this, is the fact that these guys are probably going to drop in price. You hope. And if either of the two between Bateman and Papali'i come into a really attractive price bracket, I don't see that being a bad option to get either one of them, depending on the fixtures and the run. A 55 average from Papali'i last year isn't fantastic. There's a lot of players that'll do that. Bateman was only slightly better at 61. So, the problem is there's so many other players to pick from that, it can be made easy to go, I don't want a Tigers player. Whether you don't want to watch the games, what the result's going to be before the game even starts. It's fair enough. But the upside could be there if they were good. And you might see that in a couple of years' time. You might see if they hang around those two for the next 2 seasons where you've got Luai in now and, things are going to shift around and change. They could do better. I don't know how much better it'll be. They've lost Sean Bloor, so, the thinness is there now. Everyone else, you go down the line again and it's like, who else is there for that spot besides these two? You lose one of them, the team's just gone. The forward's gone. So, Alex Twal right under the mix as well. Bagged his first try last year. Some things you love to see. I think it was one of the most watched tries of the whole season.
I think it's one of the most watched tries of all time. I think
it would have to be.
Bossie's commentary helped that situation. But
it was just incredible.
Can we fast forward? Can we please fast forward these forwards, because nothing is doing anything for me.
No, not
this
really.
Is just
go to the front rowers. David Clemmer. Nothing. Alex Twal, Uto Kamanu. Uto Kamanu was a fantastic pickup for everyone last year because he was priced so low. He was that guy that was going to get you that 50 average in the 30 average price point. So just pay attention to who else is coming up like Uto was last year, because that's kind of what you want in that second front row spot. And then, look, Api Coruscant's there as a hooker. I just don't think there's enough. There's enough there for him with the other hookers that you can get into for that price. Just don't touch any Tigers players at the end of the day. I suppose that's kind of where we're going.
Yeah. It's like, as we said, there is some excitement levels there to be excited about as a Tigers fan, but Supercoach side, honestly, don't even think about him for a draft. Don't think about him head to head. Don't think about him overall, especially early on. Just don't think about him.